going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about the Washington Commanders. Another week, another Rio and Lake Victory Tuesday pod. The Commanders moved to 5-2 with a 40-7 blowout of the Carolina Panthers. Very weird feeling game because the MVP of the squad went down. Lake, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm good, man. Always great to come on. And, I think since we started this thing, I think we like 4 out of 5, man, with the dub. So we got to continue that.
We got to keep it going as the team finds success. 5-2. They're top 6 or 7 in most power rankings that came out this morning. They're the number 2 team in the NFC behind the Detroit Lions. But the biggest story that came out of Sunday, they did it without 5. They did it without their MVP. What was the feeling like in the press box when Jayden came and went to the locker room?
I mean, unfortunately, Rio, there's still some of my colleagues that are, I don't want to say, stuck in the Stone Ages, but, some of them still had that gloom and doom approach. And, it was, oh, well, see, it's too good to be true and it's over and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, man, he's walking off. He threw his helmet down. And I'm like, he didn't throw his helmet down because, he was hurt. He couldn't play. He threw his helmet down because they wouldn't let him back in the game.
Exactly. He's a competitor.
As a competitor. So obviously that showed you that it was a positive sign that, maybe it wasn't as bad as it may have appeared. But yeah, I mean, I think the atmosphere quickly changed because Marcus Mariota, after, a couple initial drives where, kind of struggled, once he got it going, the offense kept humming along and, you started to realize that this isn't just a one-man team here. We understand that Jayden is their face, as he should be. He's the franchise quarterback. But this team is collectively a group of guys that want to win, and they're going about it the right way. And all you have to do is just look at the big picture. They are beating bad football teams, and they're not beating them. They're putting them to sleep. That's what you want if you're going to be a playoff caliber team, which this team clearly is.
Yeah, they clearly are that right now. For everybody to say they're not beating anybody, I've seen us play a lot of bad teams over the years. We not only struggled versus them, we would lose to them. We lose these ball games all the time. They bring in all these new players, new coaches, front office, and this new quarterback. All of a sudden, the floor is dramatically higher than it's been possibly the entire Dan Snyder era of football. So you see Jayden Daniels go down, and on his first touch of the game, 50-yard run, and he goes down. From my take, when I used to play football, I felt like maybe he wears a rib protector. He was awkwardly tackled. Maybe the rib protector just went and dipped into his rib cage a little bit.
Exactly.
That's what I took it as.
That's exactly what I thought. So I've had broken ribs before. And let me tell you, when you have them immediately, and it does hurt like hell a day or two later. I will say that. But when you initially have done that, and if he had broken his ribs on that first play, that run, he would not have been in the game, as many plays as he was. So you can tell that, for me, I thought it was clearly like a pulled muscle or strained, bruised rib or something like that. But the fact that he was still trying to throw the football on the sidelines, was a positive sign. And I have to say this, Rio, kudos to the Washington Commanders as an organization for deciding it was in everyone's best interest that he not come back out. Yep. They knew that they were going to beat this team in Carolina. They knew that before the game started, they were going to beat them. How bad was determined on the field. But I think they knew with that 10-point lead when Jayden got hurt that they had seen enough. They knew that they were going to beat them. They didn't need to rush him back out there. And remember, this was during a homecoming game, a Legends game. Darryl Green retirement, jersey retirement, Rabbit fans, in the past, they would have trotted him back out there.
Oh, yeah.
For all the wrong reasons. Well, for all the right reasons, they kept the young man out. And you have to give them kudos for that. And they're not going to rush him out there Sunday if he's not ready. But I'm going to tell you right now, that decision is going to be made by the team because Jayden will want to play. I can tell you that right now, too. So it's just going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. I can't wait for practice tomorrow to see what's going on.
He's a dog ass competitor. I've been seeing people post a picture of x-rays with a dog in the rib cage. That's Jayden Daniels in a nutshell. So, in past Washington regimes, they would have said, Jayden, are you good to go? He would have given him the heads up. Get your ass back out there.
Back out there. And then he could have had a broken rib. So, I just think it shows you how far and how quickly this thing is turned around. And I keep saying this for all the fans that are stuck in the past and keep saying they need to see more because they've seen a team in the past be 6-2 or 5-2 and the wheels fell off. Who cares? You haven't seen a team be 5-2 with this owner, with this coaching staff, with this type of talent at quarterback. You haven't seen it. So stop doing that. It's starting to get tired and played out, frankly. This is a good football team. When I hear players from around the league saying the same thing, saying that this is a good football team, when I hear Lamar Jackson say that about Jayden, about the team, when I see Marlon Humphrey say that about this team, if the players are saying it around the league and other coaches are, and other coaches are trying to mimic their offense now for their young quarterbacks, when are you as a fan going to say to yourself, maybe I need to stop with the whole world is falling apart approach and look at this thing for what it is? This is a good football team. This is a playoff caliber football team.
This is definitely a playoff caliber football team. They had their best player go down and only play one drive and proceeded to still win by 33. And honestly, they showed mercy. They pulled up. We could have scored 14 to 17 more points. Lord knows what Jayden would have done to that team because his first touch of the game was instant offense. And right before that even happened, Washington got a pick six to start the game. Everything in the world is right. I said everybody needs to go play the lottery. Washington got a pick six and Emmanuel Forbes caught an interception. Boy, that thing was rocking at Northwest on Sunday.
It was. I mean, the thing that really stood out to me about the crowd, it wasn't a lot of Panthers fans there. And I've covered this team long enough to see every team's fan base take over that building.
All of them.
It was not a lot of Panthers fans. I mean, you really had to look. Of course, you're going to see them behind their bench because that's their family and friends. But for the most part, you saw a little blue here or there. But it was probably 90-10 as far as Commanders fans, 90% Commanders fans. And it's only going to keep getting better because Rio, people aren't selling their tickets now. They're not selling their tickets to the opposing team's fan base. They're not putting their tickets on eBay and all these places. They want to see Jayden. They want to see this team keep winning. And you telling me there's going to be a lot of Bears fans in the building on Sunday? I don't think so. Not this time.
As well as they travel, I think our fan base shows up in droves. Also, this is the matchup. We may not get to see Jayden versus Caleb. I think we're going to be perfectly honest. So, in your judgment call, if this game that took place Sunday took place on, let's say, like December 30th against Dallas, potentially to clinch a playoff berth, does Jayden get back on that field on Sunday?
Yeah.
I think so too.
He's playing. I'm telling you, like, I'm just putting my own opinion out there. Just from what I know, I think he's playing. I do. I think as of tomorrow and Thursday, if he's in a lot of pain, he probably won't play. But from all indications and from what I know, they're going to have to he's going to have to convince them that he's really in bad shape for him not to play. And you and I both know that guy's a dog. And Caleb Williams coming to town.
Yeah, he got this one circled.
He's saying he's coming home, obviously. And Jayden's like, nah, bro, this is my town now. I mean, and I was the number 2 pick. And let's face it, Jayden knows the award will have his name engraved in it if he plays Sunday coming off the injury and they win. They might as well start to engrave Jayden Daniels, NFL Rookie of the Year already. And that I think he knows this game has a lot of importance on a lot of factors riding on it.
Hell yeah. I don't need him lying to get out on the field and saying
No,
I'm fine just
no.
to get out there. But if he feels he's good to go and they clear him and the doctors say there's no structural damage, there's no cartilage issue, it's
And it
just a
can't
little
get
bit.
any worse.
And it can't get any worse. Yep. If that's the case, cool. Let him go. Throw a Kevlar military grade flak jacket on that boy, wrap him up, and get him ready to go. He don't need to throw a pass in practice this week, for real, for real.
No, and I don't know if he will. I mean, like tomorrow we'll get a chance to see. I don't even he might not even be out there tomorrow. But there's one thing that I do know about this kid, man. He's different, and it sounds cliche, but he's one of those guys that wants to be the best, wants to be the guy. And I think one thing I love about Jayden is he knows the history of his position. He knows the history of the league, and he knows that some of the greats have played a little nicked up and had some of their best games actually in being nicked up. He's a different type of cat, different type of running quarterback that can pass, that can, do all of the above, that makes him dynamic at all times. But I just think that, for him, he is one of those guys that can run the ball, Rio, that can stay in the pocket if he is a little nicked up and beat you with his arm. And that might be what you'll see on Sunday.
Absolutely. I think he's gonna play. I think I have a gut feeling he's gonna play. I think there's gonna be a bit of gamesmanship done by Dan Quinn all week to not give the Chicago Bears any inclination whether it's gonna be Mariota or Jayden for Sunday. So they're gonna play around with it. They'll probably hold him out of practice majority of the week and call him a game time decision for Sunday. But I think we're going to still get Jayden versus Caleb this Sunday. But the biggest story of the game probably was the defense. Like Marcus Mariota, we're going to get to the offense in a little bit. Washington's defense didn't allow the Carolina Panthers to do anything. See, the first drive of the game felt like a typical Washington start. Carolina's easily trotting up the field. It usually takes a touchdown or a field goal drive to start to wake our defense up. But nope, Dante Fowler Jr., who was like the highest graded defensive player in football this week from PFF, pick 6 to get things going, and the crowd exploded late.
Yeah, I mean, that was the wake-up call that they needed. And once that happened, the floodgates opened. You could just see it was 2 different teams going in 2 directions. And for my money, Carolina looked awful. I mean, they just it looked so bad that I was expecting for them to bring in Bryce Young. The defense was all over them after that Dante Fowler, pick 6. We saw Forbes get, as you mentioned, get his interception. Hey. But no John Allen, no problem, because that defensive line looked fast, looked aggressive, was pushing the pocket back. Johnny Newton looked really good.
Big Mathis.
Fedarian Mathis. I mean, and I've said this. I'll say it again, not to stray here. Duron looked really good. And you and I both talked about this. He's always looked better when there was no John Allen next to him. So he's going to have to play like this, because if not, your 2 starting tackles next year are going to be Johnny Newton and Fedarian Mathis. So there's a lot of hunger on that defensive line now for guys to get their opportunities, and it showed against the Panthers.
Yeah, man. Duron, you see Duron moving on that pick 6? You see him
right there with Dante. We ushered him down the field, That goes to show you that he's engaged. And when you get Duron engaged like that, it's going to work wonders for their defense, and it's going to lift them up. And I think you saw that on Sunday. That defense was all over the field.
They were, man. Dante Fowler, first ever in his life, pick 6. He showed a little wiggle, had a little shake and bake to get the quarterback.
And a hurdle too,
a little hurdle. He showed, hey man, Dante Fowler, he definitely looked like he played some running back in his past life. I believe he told y'all that after the game on Sunday. But things are all going well for Washington when Forbes is catching interceptions. This is what we drafted you to do. Some people are going to say it was thrown right to you. With this team, you can't say that because we get picks thrown to us every week and we don't catch the ball. So how good did that feel to see? What was the shock like in the press box?
I mean, he had to have caught that, though. I mean, like you said, it couldn't come better gift wrap. But for him, the confidence boost that it gave him, and just to get him engaged, because his body language had really looked a little down in practice and stuff, and even in the locker room during the week, you could see body language was just not there. But I'm gonna say this: he's one of my favorite players on this team, and I mean that because of the type of person that he is. That is one of the nicest kids that you will come across. He's a good kid. He really is. And you want to see those kind of kids do well. You want to see them have success. And it's good for the team. He's their first round draft pick. Whether we thought he was a first rounder or not, he is a first round draft pick. And you need those type of players to play to the level that got him drafted in the first round. And I think for our money, you saw a little less of Benji St. Juice on Sunday, ironically.
You did. I did. I forgot he was out there at some point.
Yeah, a lot of people did, But when he played, he had a couple moments where he shined as well. But I think for Emmanuel to do what he did, that was needed in that secondary, because he's the one guy out of all the corners. Let's just be upfront about it. He's the playmaking corner. He's the guy that can track a football. He's the guy that can break on a football. When he's been beat in the past, he's been beat by some supreme, alpha one wide receivers. Why they had him on them at all times, that's bad coaching from an old regime that's gone. But now I think, for him to have that interception, I really feel like, Rio, that's the type of things that can get your confidence back, and he can start playing the type of game that they need him to play.
Yeah, I think he needed it bad as ever. Coming off a week where he only played 4 snaps, a couple like he needed this one really bad, and that's good for morale. It's like being a shooter, a shooter that's been going through a cold streak. Once you see the ball go through that net again, it may wake something up in you. And what I also will say is Joe Witt Jr.'s scheme is putting guys in the right places. His depth, his placement in that zone was right where the ball was traveling. So give kudos to Emmanuel Forbes and give kudos to Joe Witt Jr. As the weeks go by, you're starting to see Washington figure some things out on defense. Now that I saw what the Ravens did to the Bucs last night, did we even play as horrible a game as I thought we did?
See, listen, man, I'm so glad you brought this up, because, again, those fans are starting to come into the chat boxes and say, Lake, man, they haven't played anybody, hold your horses. And I see this every day. I know what my eyes see. I know what my professional history has shown me to be able to make this kind of assessment. And this is a good football team. So, yeah, when you see what Baltimore is doing, steamrolling everyone, and for everyone that's in my chat box is saying, oh, well, they haven't played Dallas yet, they haven't played good teams. Dallas is 3-3, really?
Dallas is not a good
what
team.
What did Baltimore do to Dallas in their own building?
Spanked them.
And now, say what you want, Cincinnati's starting to get their stuff going again, and they took Baltimore into overtime, okay? Baltimore had to win in overtime against them, okay? So for Washington to go into Baltimore 2 weekends ago and battle them the way they did, and really not play their A game on offense, but still be in the game on defense. The defense played a C game, if that. And they still had the chance with 2:25 to get the ball back to tie that game. I'm sorry. If you can't see that this thing has changed, you just don't want to see it.
You don't want to see it. And Cincinnati is still a 10-win football team to me. They're still going to they're going to make the play. I've seen their schedule, and it's Joe Burrow. They're going to make the playoff.
They're making the playoffs. And then now what? I mean, if so when people say things, Rio, like they haven't played anybody, they lost to 2 good teams. They lost to Tampa. They lost to Baltimore. I'm not so sure. Maybe not Baltimore, because I got Baltimore winning the Super Bowl. I've said that from day one this year. They should have been in it last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're the best team in football. Kansas City has the best record, maybe the greatest player in the game, but Lamar Jackson's right on his heels.
Oh, he's coming for that third MVP.
Absolutely. And you can't take that away from him. He's a dynamic, great quarterback. And they have a sledgehammer at running back now. So they're coming for it. So with that said, Washington's doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to beat bad teams, and they're not beating them. They're putting them to sleep by halftime.
They're killing them.
You've never seen this.
Never.
So, I mean, for us going up, being in the press box during the game, it was always, I wonder what the menu's going to look like up in here today. What's my lunch going to look like today? Now it's like, damn, what am I doing the whole second half? Because the game is over. I haven't seen anything like this, and this is now they're 3-0 at home. And them games at home, I know the Giants game, was early. If they played the Giants again in the building now, they put them to sleep too.
We're gonna see the Giants next week, and I think it's gonna look a lot different than week 2.
Oh, believe me, up there it's gonna look a lot different. So now the whole dynamic of they haven't played anybody should be put to sleep, because you did what you did Sunday against a bad team, but you did it with your backup quarterback, and they did not miss a beat after it started rolling. I just don't know what more are you looking for. They don't have the Lions on their schedule this year. They don't have Minnesota on their schedule this year. The teams that they have on their schedule, they've been taking care of business. And I say this sincerely, they didn't play well in Tampa, but yet late in the third quarter of that game,
one possession game.
did not play their best game against the Ravens, who I have winning the Super Bowl, but yet they still were in the game with 2:25 left. I just don't know what you want to see. They're not going to blow everyone else out. That's just not the nature of the NFL. You're going to have some games that you should win, that you lose, but if you're a good team, you win most of them that you should, and that's what Washington's doing.
And contextually speaking, the team won 4 games last year. We've already surpassed last year's win total in 7 weeks. Well, we came in with expectations of a 5 to 6 win season, and we're already there at the halfway mark. I see good teams play down the competition every week. The Bills just went wire to wire with the Tennessee Titans. The Eagles, it took them everything to beat the Cleveland Browns last week. Washington is not playing with their food. They are taking care of bad teams like a good team is supposed to. Washington is a good team right now, and we're figuring out a rhythm on the defensive side of the ball. We held Andy Dalton under 100 yards on Sunday. Their number 1 and number 2 receiver, Deontay Johnson, 1 catch, 17 yards. He's trying to get out of there, by the way. Xavier Legette, 2 catches for like 6 yards. Chuba Hubbard's had 90 yards for 4 weeks in a row. None of that on Washington. He found the end zone in like a Goodwill Salvation Army type charity touchdown in the fourth quarter of that game.
Yeah, I was mad about that, Rio, that they gave up those points at the end, because, they hadn't had a shutout in a long time.
I know, I wanted it.
They hated them so bad that you wanted to see that. But so he got the touchdown, but it was a severe garbage time.
Yeah, it was like, take something on your way out. Get a little goodie bag on your way out the door. Take some candy for the kids type touchdown. But overall, I got no complaints. Dante Fowler with another sack. That's 4.5 on the season. Louvu with another sack. As a part-time rusher, mostly full-time linebacker, 4 sacks on the season, 8.5 between those guys. You count in another 3 from Dorrance Armstrong, who's missed a couple games. Fowler and Armstrong on the edge. Adam Peters just struck gold in his first offseason, man.
Man, this guy, like, everything he touched, turned to gold. And you have to feel really good about not just this year, but the fact that they have the second most, cap money going into next season, and they have more draft picks now than they did last year. So, and they're probably going to get more because they're going to move a couple players. It's just setting up so nicely for them to be in a position where need a guard? Oh, we're going to draft one. Need a corner? We're going to draft one. Or we'll sign a free agent at that. They're not going to just be trying to build a roster anymore. They're going to be filling in cracks now. And I'm excited about it.
Yep, just add talent. Best player available. It gives you the flexibility to just add talent wherever you can find it. You want to be a buyer or a seller at the deadline, you can do any of the above. Word on the street, we've been checking in on Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Brown. I would love to see another body added to that room with Jean-Baptiste and Dorrance Armstrong missing some time. Why not add a veteran with 64 career sacks and who's had 9.5 since joining the Browns last year? To add to Dante Fowler, to add to Frankie Louvu, to Dorrance Armstrong. I could definitely see it, but in all, how would you grade Washington's defense? It got to be an A+ for Sunday, right?
Oh yeah, man. I gave it a solid A. Only reason I didn't give, I grade hard. I couldn't give them an A+ just because, Carolina was ASS, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I
They're
can say
bad. They're
they were
bad.
buns, man. So, so for me, Washington did everything they were supposed to. I was disappointed in that opening drive until Dante got that pick six, though, because it was looking like, what are they doing, man? They start off slow all the time. If they can come out and jump on a team from the jump, and I don't mean like, as they move down the field. I just want to see them get a 3-and-out to start a game and get the offense rolling and put you down and then see how they tee off on you. But listen, man, you can't ask for much more. These guys are creating turnovers now, and that was something that has eluded defenses here for years. They just could not turn the ball over. So now this team is in situations where they're stepping over balls. I did tease Bobby about that, Bobby Wagner. But they're stepping over balls or they're not getting them in the scrums. And now they're, getting interceptions and getting pick six from defensive linemen and stuff. I mean, listen, this is the makings of something great, man. Like, and it's unfolding right in front of everyone's eyes. So
Joe
embrace.
Witt, yep, Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn, they've told us at these press conferences, they're very transparent, by the way. They said the next step in the development of the defense is we got to start turning the ball over. We got to start getting the ball back for our offense and playing complementary football. The offense is a top 3 offense in this league. If you compare a solid defense with that, you can beat anybody. I don't care who you run the fade with. This team can compete with anybody. I'm giving them an A+ on Sunday. I hate that they gave up that little weak ass touchdown at the end. Seal the edge, Benjamin St. Juice. Man, come on, man. I wanted them to have 0 so bad. They didn't deserve to score on us on Sunday. But you get a pick six in that exciting a fashion. You get an Emmanuel Forbes interception, Louvu getting a sack, Dante Fowler getting a sack, just domination. You would forget that they were even in scoring position. The first drive of the game felt like business as usual. Everybody goes right down the field on this defense. In some kind of way, we always get marched on to start the game. It's honestly how we start. So that was to be expected. But I'm gonna give them an A+. They dogged this team. They didn't play around with their food. Andy Dalton looked uncomfortable all day. I came out that game thinking, so what the hell is Bryce Young actually learning from watching Andy Dalton right now?
I mean, come on, man. Listen, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh, we're getting ready to see Bryce. They're going to bring Bryce in the second half. And for them not to do that is malpractice, man. Like you're playing a 36-year-old on this trash team, and you're now is so bad in Carolina, Rio. You know what they're doing? They're stunning the development now
Yep.
of Leggett. They're stunning the development of Chua, Hubbard. I mean, you think of all of these young guys that should be trying to play with Bryce and grow with him. So if they feel like they're gonna, take another quarterback in the draft coming up, I'm here to tell you right now, from what I saw this weekend with Ewers and Jalen Milrose and these guys, I don't know if they're upgrades over Bryce Young. I really don't. And I can tell you right now, Shador could be, probably is, but Deion Sanders not letting his son play in no Carolina.
But Tepper, absolutely not.
You can forget that. So if you're Carolina, you better get that kid back on the field and just go through the growing pains and coach him, because it's proven in Houston. It's proven now in Washington. It was proven in Philadelphia too with Jalen Hurts. If you coach them to their strengths and give them plans that work for them, maybe you'll see more out of Bryce Young, but can't have 36-year-old in there throwing pick six to defensive linemen. You can't.
And then he's had back-to-back bad weeks with multiple picks. Get the guy in. I think for Carolina at this point, their only chance to survive toxic, meddlesome ownership is to build a foundation that's great enough that once you pop a quarterback into it, he has no reason but to thrive. So I think they need to just go best player available and build up. They need to draft Travis Hunter. That's what they need to do.
Well, I think so. And in Rio, you called it. To me, I think he would be the number one pick for them if they took. But the problem is, he's with Dion out in Colorado. Letting that kid go there either.
Possibly.
Agents are not letting their talent go to Carolina. Not right now. Not in that cesspool and what they see going on. They need to build the trenches up. They need to go out and get them a tackle, get them a guard, build the trenches up before you do anything, because they have some skill set players that if became available, Deontay Washington, of course, he would look great in DC. Leggett, I loved him coming out of college.
I wanted him in college. Yeah, I wanted him coming out.
Great in DC. So they have talent at the skill sets. They just don't have the coaching right now, and they don't have the trenches secured for these guys.
Yeah, that almost looks like a situation that no matter who you put there, like Dave Tepper strong-armed Frank Reich and Josh Johnson and them. They wanted C.J. Stroud. He made him take Bryce Young. I'm not even sure C.J. Stroud looks like the C.J. Stroud we know and love right now if he goes to Carolina.
I don't think Jayden would look like Jayden if he was in Carolina. I'm not saying they wouldn't have any success. You would see that they have talent, but it's so bad. It made Bryce Young, people forget the kid won a Heisman Trophy and has a championship from his time in Alabama. And you look at him now, people are like, he's not even an NFL player. I mean, really, that's how bad the talent is in the trenches in front of him. They can't block right now for him.
Nope.
And he's already undersized. So he needs passing lanes to throw the football from. They can't create that with that offensive line.
Yep. And so we knew we were going to kill the Panthers on Sunday, but I'm glad Washington took care of business. So as we turn it over to the offensive side of the ball, I'm glad I mentioned C.J. Stroud too, because for the fans with PTSD, oh my God, it's like Robert all over again. It's not like Robert all over again. I want to walk you back to 2023. A lot of fans didn't know this. People took this by surprise when I said this on my live stream when we were watching the game. C.J. Stroud missed 2 games last year. He got knocked out with a concussion. He looked like he died on the football field last year. He got a bad concussion, and he missed 2 games. You know what he also did? He still won 10 games. He still won Rookie of the Year and won a playoff game last year. Everybody relax. Jayden is fine. It was an awkward. He gave himself up on a long run, and he got stuck in this weird situation where he tumbles and gets in this scorpion-like position. Jayden's going to be fine. Cut the PTSD, but no Jayden, no problem. Marcus Mariota said, I want a Heisman too. I want a Heisman too, and I was also a top 2 pick in the NFL draft. How about QB2 coming in and stepping up for Washington?
Man, it was just so good for Marcus. You know, you talk about a class act too. You know, he's definitely it. And, you know, a guy that talks with us, jokes with us. I mean, he's just a good dude, man. And, you know, he's one of those guys that brings like a calming presence, you know, into the locker room. And especially for a guy like Jayden. Say what you want about Marcus's career. And if it hasn't gone the way, you know, obviously a Heisman Trophy winner and a top draft pick, you know, one of the top picks. He was a number 2 pick, ironically, himself. But he still has life experiences and things that Jayden, it can be relatable to Jayden because they do have Heismans. They were the number 2 picks in the draft. They were considered to be saviors. I know that people don't like saying that, but saviors of a franchise.
Yep.
It didn't work out for Marcus when he was in Tennessee. Well, with that said, for him to come in the game and be able to orchestrate the game plan, you know, and for them to be able to call some plays for him to get him going, and then he heated up. That was actually the best I've seen Marcus Mariota play quarterback, even going back to his days in Tennessee, in years.
Yep.
So that's
a year.
yeah, you know, maybe ever. You know, so that goes to show you just how well Cliff Kingsbury and this offense is in lockstep and key with each other, that you can bring in your backup quarterback and he still go up and down the field. I don't want to hear it was against Carolina.
I don't want
It
to hear
was
it.
an NFL team, and it was under the most extreme of circumstances for Marcus to get in the game. And on top of that, I would like to remind people, Marcus is coming back from an injury too, back injury.
Yep.
So this is like only his second, third game that
Yep.
he was doing this with. So he was working out some kinks. He had his preseason in the first two drives, and then he got it going. And I think for him to do what he did, it showed the team, damn, man, we really good here. Like, it doesn't matter who's playing where, we getting the job done. And that's always the mark of a really good football team.
This offense is a juggernaut under Cliff Kingsbury. That boy's bag runneth deep. I loved it for Marcus, so fans can shut the hell up about Jeff Driscoll and Sam Hartman. The infatuation with QB3s and backups. We are solid at the backup position. I'm so glad Dan Quinn and them never cared about what fans had to say about the backup spot. It was definitely like preseason 4. He came out, his first 3 throws, he was pissing the ball around the field. It was erratic. He missed Diami on that crosser to the right. That he was wide open. I needed that one, but after those first 3 throws, it felt like he didn't throw an incompletion for the rest of the game. He's throwing on the run. He's throwing seeds. He's throwing dots up the middle, to the left, to the right, intermediate, short, deep. Marcus was in his bag. We got our tight ends on the board for the first time this year. Zach Ertz has earned himself a touchdown. He's been balling all year as our second leading receiver on this team. He gets in the end zone. How about trying out new recipes on Sunday? We got Ben Sinnott in there and got him a touchdown. I know that felt good for the Rook.
Yeah, man. I mean, for all these guys, it's like a different young guy each week is starting to get, their name called. In previous weeks you start to see Luke McCaffrey have some tough catches. So for Ben to get his touchdown, get his inaugural one, that's a confidence booster. And I do know with Ben, it was just a matter of learning the offense and more the nuances of being a pro. But the talent is there. I'm not so sure in the future if you don't see, like we saw in the Cleveland game, the bomb from the 2-yard line to Zach Ertz. I'm not so sure if that's a call that's going to be made for Ben Sinnott, because he has that kind of speed to track the ball. So this is good stuff, man. Jeremy McNichols, obviously Austin Eckler. I mean, it's being done by committee. At the end of the day, De'Ami Brown had a good game. It's being done by committee, and I think this game against Chicago, you might see a guy like Noah Brown step up. It's going to be somebody different this week to go along with the mainstays of B. Rob, Terry, and Jayden.
Brian Robinson, 71 yards, 6 yards a carry. Jayden didn't even really play, and he had 50 yards on the ground. Jeremy McNichols, 6 yards a carry. It was a team effort. Even Mariota pitched in with 34 yards. Eckler only had to run for 17 yards. We're over 200 on the ground again. And then we go to the wide receiver game. Terry McLaurin is playing number 1 caliber football this year. He is on pace for 9 touchdowns, over 1,100 yards and 85 catches. No Jayden, no problem. I think Mariota was pressing at the end to try to get him to 100. He was just this close. He was just under 100 yards, but Terry's activated. He's happy that he's getting quarterback play that is worthy of his talents. He's a dog. We don't need much from the other receivers right now. Well, at least versus a team like Carolina. Ertz is your second leading receiver with 40 yards. I still think we could use some more in that wide receiver room after Terry. But right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Cliff Kingsbury, what he's done with this team, he's going to have people knocking our doors down for his services. I don't think they're going to get it just yet coming up in this offseason, but that offense it's moving like a well-oiled machine, Lake.
It is. And, I'm glad you brought up the Terry thing because, people were trying to come at us, he said, and I'm going to say this, Darvin Kidsey, who used to play here, him and Terry are pretty tight. And, I talked with him after the game. Matter of fact, I interviewed him. You're going to see it on YouTube today. Okay. It'll be I interviewed some of the players that came back homecoming. And I said, to Darvin, that some people were getting at me because I said Terry, although he's a Pro Bowler and a really good receiver, I need to see if he can take his game to a level of being an elite alpha top 5 type receiver that you talk about, because he has the numbers, but is he really recognized like that? And Darvin said, I understand exactly what you're saying. He's never really had the quarterback that could help him elevate his game further.
Mm-hmm.
And he said now he and Jayden are elevating each other's games. And so now you're seeing Terry start to put himself in that kind of elite alpha top 5, top 6 type receiver. I have no problem saying that. And I think you, my friend, said the same thing.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it, but we're not saying he can't do it. We want to see it. Well, we're seeing it now.
when you're getting paid top freight, I want to see top freight production, you know?
Yeah, when you see, when you see it. And so the question is starting to be answered that yes, Terry can be one of the top receivers in this game because he has a guy who can get him the ball, and it's making Terry elevate his game. So yeah, man, we give credit where credit is due. That's the bottom line. But we also going to tell you if you're not it. And I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. John Allen to me is not an upper tier defensive tackle as far as a top 5 tackle, even though he's getting paid to be one. He never to me was. And the fact that defense looked the way they did Sunday, man, kind of tells you something. So anyway, not to stray there.
Hell yeah. And now I know exactly what you mean, because when you want to see an elite defensive tackle, look at what Dexter Lawrence is doing in New York right now. Oh my,
he's being double teamed, by the way.
All the time. He's a nose tackle. He's a 350-pound nose tackle. He gets doubles on a consistent basis. There's no reason why a 350-pound man has 7 sacks halfway through a season. That's like impossible for a nose tackle.
It's impossible, and yet he's doing it. And we saw over the years Aaron Donald do it.
Mm-hmm. Chris Jones in Kansas City.
That's what I'm saying. They're all going to tell you they get double teamed every play, double teamed and then chipped all the time. So all we were saying from day one to the fans who get in their feelings when you say something about their favorite player that they have a poster of on their wall.
Exactly.
Not what we're doing here, folks. We're saying that in Washington, we've never had elite talent.
Blue chippers.
Blue chippers, exactly. Terry wasn't drafted as an elite talent. He was drafted in the 3rd round
to be Jeremy Reeves for real. We drafted him
to be a special teams gunner. Mm-hmm. He ended up and for everybody out there who's doing this, I keep receipts. You can go back to my tweet from training camp in Richmond years ago where I said, I don't know what I'm seeing, but this number 17 out here looks to me to be the best receiver on the team. And he's a combination of Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon. And matter of fact, Jackson, Deshaun's mom, that's my girl. She texted me and said, Lake, no way. He's not one of one. And so my whole point is I was giving credit where credit is due. And now to me, Terry has a chance to put himself legitimately as a top 5 receiver. I really believe that, Rio. I think he has a chance to do that with Jayden. He's never had that kind of quarterback that can make him better.
Yeah. 5, that's a little ambitious for me. I think top 10 to 12, he can get up in the mix for there, but I'm not mad at it.
But I mean, you know your stuff. So let's do this 5 real quick. We already know what one is. I mean, come on, seriously. It's Justin. Justin Jefferson.
Jamar Chase.
Okay, now make sure we
there's some productive guy, like somewhere in that 5. I'm throwing Amon-Ra St. Brown because his production is insane every week.
Let's just put him at 3. Now, and we're not doing a pecking order. We're just saying that's 3 that we have in 5, our top 5.
AJ Brown to me as is possibly the most complete receiver in the league. He's somewhere in that mix as well.
That's 4.
And I think it would take a while for me. Like, I think Terry is definitely, with a good quarterback, he's going to approach top 10 feel. Top 5 just feels it. Just
do you take Terry over CeeDee Lamb?
No.
Okay, so that's where the fringe area is. So for me, CeeDee is like a 6, And when we did our rating, we had Terry at 12. I remember this.
Yep.
That's not chopped liver, by the way, folks. But I think Terry, with Jayden now seeing the body of work, has ascended beyond that. So he's probably right now at like 6 or 7.
And I'm counting like ascending young guys too, because Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., they are shooting up the boy. Jayden was spoiled at LSU, man.
Yeah, no, he was, but the body of work for Terry pushed him way up above.
Yeah, it's his body of work. Okay, but Neighbors though, man.
but I mean, we look at Marvin Harrison Jr. We know the talent is there to be probably number 1 at some point.
Yep.
But it's just as far as bodies of work and what they're doing. I don't know, honestly, Rio, when you go around the league outside of Jamar and outside of Justin Jefferson, I don't know if there's somebody that you can say hands down. Oh, Tyreek Hill, of course.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ, he's probably number 2. It's him, Chase, and Jettas are the top 3. That's exactly it.
So those 3 are right there. But then if you want to put, St. Brown in there, you can. The production is there for sure. But Terry's production is right there with his, if not better.
Terry could be as productive as Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's faster. I think he's faster than him, and I think his route bag is not far from Amon-Ra St. Brown's, if not better. I think if Terry was given a consistent play caller and quarterback like Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, etc.,
he probably have been a top 5.
You probably see 1,400-yard, 10 touchdown seasons from him. This is true.
So there you go. That's all we said. We want to see what a number 1 alpha top 5.
Exactly. Don't shoot.
Here we go. We're talking about what we're seeing, and yes, we're seeing it. So if everyone out there is saying, well, we already told you he was that, no, you couldn't tell me that because he wasn't, because he didn't have the right weaponry around him. The play calling, the quarterback was all in play now, and you see how it elevates not just him. Was anybody saying B-Rob was a top 5 running back last year or the year before? No,
absolutely not.
If you say that now,
sure.
Because of coaching and what he has around him. Look, man, winning does a lot for a lot of people.
It gives a facelift to everybody, and everybody has a chance to eat now that things are different here. Just know that me and Lake stand on business, and nobody's backpedaling anything we've ever said. I'm not a cornerback. We don't backpedal on this side. We stand on our statement. But if we're wrong, we're wrong, and we will definitely speak on that. Is Brandon Coleman good? He's in the concussion protocol. How bad of a concussion are we talking here?
I mean, I saw Brandon after the game, and he was walking out by himself, like to go home. I mean, that's a good sign, and I'm serious, because if it's something bad, you're going to be held back a little bit. You may be walked out with people just to make sure you're good. Concussions are tricky though. Sometimes, you get in daylight, you get some sunlight, and it gives you headaches, and so they're going to monitor him as well and make sure that he's good to go. I think in his situation, it's a luxury to have, and I'm gonna say it, it's a luxury to have a Cornelius Lucas, because he's been playing well as well. They've been platooning and doing the job, but they're not going to rush him back either. But I just think these young guys are understanding that they're winning. This is their indoctrination to the NFL. They're 5-2. They don't know about the misery from before. When you're winning, you don't want to miss games. You don't want to miss a play that's called for you. You don't want to miss a rep. And for me, it would be surprising for me, because one thing you can say about Brandon is he's a super intelligent guy, and he understands what this game is. He understands why it was flexed. And you don't think he wants people to see that not only does Washington have their franchise quarterback, but they also potentially have their franchise left tackle as well. So, yeah, I think he's going to give it a go as well.
I need Jayden. I need Brandon Coleman if they are good to go this Sunday versus Chicago, because these Bears fans, man, their takes are all over the place. It's going to be peak toxic on this channel when I do streams this week for the Bears game, because they're coming in feeling themselves after beating the Jags in London and after beating Carolina as well.
Getting a rookie of the week. And I'm like, Bro, he did it against the Jaguars, man. Like, no offense to
But
Jackson.
that's but production as a rookie, like no matter who you do it against, you should be happy about it. You should be happy
Yeah, I
about
mean,
it.
he's playing well. He's playing
He's
really
the
well.
number one pick. That's what they're supposed. Their team is better. Their team is supposed to be. We're not supposed to be 5-2. They're in a win now mode. They got Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus on a hot seat. So they have to win now. So this is where they should be. So why are they so concerned with our excitement here in DC? I had a Bears fan say, oh, clearly Jayden Daniels is a system quarterback. Mariota can do the same thing. Like, no. You know what Jayden would have done to Carolina on Sunday? It would have looked like the Florida game.
Listen, man, I had a Bears fan tell me it's going to be the same as it's always been, 73-0. I said, listen, you don't remember 14-6 either. What, 1941? I mean, we got them back. But the whole point is, I tried to tell them, if you're worried, and have this much, vitriol towards Jayden already, that's because you starting to wonder, did you take the right person?
Exactly.
And I can tell Chicago, you did take the right person for your situation. Caleb's going to be a really good one in this league. Like he's definitely
I love
generational.
Caleb. I love Caleb.
He's DC kid. I'm from DC, so we love our own at the same time. You want to wish success, but it's okay. It's okay to see that Jayden is a little different. And in this system that he's in, it's going to be something. And another thing that people better be leery of, Bears fans, you do know Cliff knows knows Caleb pretty well, knows tendencies, things like
Just
that.
like he did Kyler. He did.
Not going to be sitting with Joe Witten and Dan Quinn, DQ, this week going over some stuff. I can't wait for this one. It would be a disappointment, though, a necessary disappointment if Jayden doesn't play. But it would be nice if he could play, because I think this is a game that the league really wants to tout. You could be potentially looking at, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson. Yeah.
The junior game.
Yeah.
It would be something really good.
The league could use a budding rivalry of two young elite quarterbacks, especially picked one pick in between each other. They didn't exactly flex it for Marcus Mariota to start for the 425 game of the week. They didn't put Romo and Nance on the call for Mariota, but I actually think we could still beat them with Mariota. I love Caleb Williams, and I know what Caleb Williams
storyline.
Yep, I know Caleb. I know his pros and his cons because I studied him. I love the guy. I've paid attention to him since high school. He holds on to the ball for a very long time. And if you make things comfortable for him, he will put the ball in harm's way. I think we match up better with Chicago than a lot of people think so. I want Jayden to play, but imagine getting the 6-2 and putting Jayden on ice and he come back to New York next week with a 6-2 record.
I'm going to just say this, man. I've been thinking about this one, and it's early. It's Tuesday, but I have been thinking about this. If Jayden doesn't play and they win with Marcus, if you do not say that this is a playoff team at that point, or they're a good football team, then you need to have your fandom revoked.
I don't know what to tell you at that point.
Period, because I won't want to hear anything else after that. If they were to beat Chicago with Mariota quarterbacking and no Jayden this week, I don't know what more you can ask. I mean, Dan Quinn already front runner for a coach of the year. I mean, what do you want at this point?
I don't know what to tell you, man, because this is a team I can't. Your preseason prediction was a lot higher than mine. Was double your win total from the year before. Go from 4 to 8, get to 8 and 9, develop the quarterback, and develop an identity. Know what you are. Teams need to know when Washington comes on the schedule, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and this is what we need to be prepared for. We've lacked an identity for 25 years. They already got an identity in 7 weeks, Slate.
Hey, listen, man. Make sure you put that on the promo thing. Make sure you got this soundbite, because I did say on your show that this team was 9 wins at worst. And you asked me that back in training camp. From what
I made you say it twice just to make sure you knew what you were saying.
Absolutely. You sure did. And I said that the Eagles would win the division and Washington would be the second best team in the division. I said that. Okay. I could be wrong about that because it could be flip-flop. I'm okay with being wrong. I don't have a problem with that as long as it's a positive wrong.
I encourage it.
Yeah, I want to be wrong. Like we said, we want to be wrong about Terry. We want him to ascend to be a top 5 receiver, and he's doing it. Okay. So now with this team, we wanted this team to be just competitive and look like a professional outfit across the board. Well, hell, man, not only are they winning games and everybody's happy, hell, the chef feeds us media people at the practice now. It's something I've never seen before, and it's just a good vibe. And you can tell that these guys are playing for each other and they're having fun with each other. No egos out there. These guys collectively want to win football games. And that's all you can ask for. Let the chips fall where they may, but at least you're getting maximum effort. And guys aren't just, how many times over the years have we seen, man, by the end of the first quarter, guys was dragging ass, man. They didn't even want to be out there. We're not seeing that now.
We're having fun. All the alumni is back. I'm watching Mark Rippon run around with a flag out on the field. They're bringing everybody back. It's a party at Northwest. We're back home at it again versus the Chicago Bears this week. We're hoping we get to see Jayden versus Caleb, but if they got to hold him out a week, I'm not mad at it. He is the franchise. But how would you grade the offense's performance versus Carolina, just to put a bow on week 7? Would you give him an A+ as well, or you giving him an A?
This will be the first time ever in the history of me coming on your show I'm giving them an A+. And I'm giving them an A+ because they did it 95% of this with their backup quarterback. And they didn't miss a beat. After those first couple of drives, it was shaky. He got his feet under him. And then they were just humming along. The run game was there. I mean, when you get your backup tight end, a rookie, his first touchdown, I mean, those are the type of things the special seasons are made of, where everybody's contributing and feeling like they're part of something brewing as far as a special thing.
That offense is different, man. Us and the Ravens sit atop the league with 218 points scored, 31 points a game. That is 4 touchdowns and a field goal a game. Tressway only punted it once. We don't even know who Tressway is anymore.
No, we don't. And you know what? The other thing is they've scored four games this year of 30 points or more. They hadn't done that collectively in 2 years. The previous 2 years, they hadn't scored have 30 points in
total.
Total. So for them to do that in their first 6 games, first 7 games, come on, man. I mean, it's different. It's different.
Yeah. And for you naysayers and detractors out there, this isn't even the offense hitting on all cylinders yet. We haven't even seen a 300-yard passer yet, because we haven't needed to. We haven't even seen us full throttle, pedal to the metal, foot on the gas for 4 quarters yet. The best is yet to come. We're still in the infancy stages, and we're already killing folks. That is a sign of good things to come. Washington is number 2 in the NFC. They're top 10, top 7 on most power rankings coming out. The vibes are high, and we got a huge matchup against Chicago this week. Ain't gonna make you go too deep into it, but how do you think Sunday's looking at Northwest?
Oh, man, it's going to be rocking, and it's looking good. It's looking good if you're a Commanders fan. I mean, let's be honest. There's going to be some gamesmanship all week. You're not going to know about Jayden if he's playing or if he's not. Hopefully by Friday at practice, I can be able to tell you, what I know if he is or if he isn't. I'm just saying my own personal opinion is that Jayden plays and Washington wins this football game. I think if he doesn't play and Mariota plays, they have a chance to win the football game still. Chicago, this isn't to knock Chicago, because I do like what they're doing there. I love, how Caleb is getting his feet under him and playing great football. But if you look at the records of the teams that they beat, I mean, come on, Bears fans, just don't come on our timelines talking about how Washington hasn't played anybody. Have you played anybody is the question. I mean, the teams that you played this year have a collective 4 wins. 4. That's it. So don't talk about who Washington hasn't played. They played a Cincinnati team that would give you fits. They played a Ravens team you're not beating, and they've played some other teams that aren't as bad as people made them out to be. Look at Arizona. Arizona is a team that they're not awful, and we went into Arizona and just went to work on them. So
Yep.
I think Washington is better than some of the fans around the nation. They're just so used to the negative storylines coming out of DC that's all they're holding their hat to. But they're learning. They're learning as their teams come into town and they go home beat up. They're learning that this is a good football team.
And I will say to Bears fans, as good as I think your defense is, top 10 and all, y'all have only played one high-powered offense all season. You lost the game to the Indianapolis Colts, who don't put any fear in my heart. But the Texans are the only high-powered offense that the Bears have seen all off season. Y'all ain't seen nothing like this Washington offense yet. So pump the brakes. We're going to see y'all Sunday. It is blackout week. We are pulling out the black uniforms this Sunday versus the Chicago Bears. Last time we wore black versus the Bears, they spanked us, but that was a whole regime ago. So do not talk to me about Sam Howell, EB, Ron Rivera-led football team. This is a different beast we got in here now.
Yeah, it's definitely, just a different makeup, and guys are excited. And one thing I know about this coaching staff, they don't like being disrespected, and they don't like being looked at as less than. And I think the narrative that's starting to go around outside of the DMV is that Chicago's a better football team. And I just don't see that. I think the Bears are a really good young ascending team. I do believe that. And I think they're a playoff caliber football team. But right now, for my money, in their own division, they're probably the worst team in their division. That's just me.
That division's like that this year.
Yeah. I mean, because the division's that good. And I'm not saying that they're worse. That means they can't make the playoffs. They should make the playoffs. But if you're Washington, man, there's something different going on right now. It really is. And the elevation of everyone on the roster is just really started to come to fruition and right in front of your eyes. And when you give young guys confidence, it's only going to keep building and building and building. And I really believe their most important game of the year, Rio, was the loss to Baltimore. I think that was the game that, just being in Baltimore that day and in that locker room, guys were mad that they lost. They weren't accepting that they hung around with the Ravens. They were like, man, we let this one go. We should have won this game. And I think for them to be able to do that in Baltimore, in that environment with a team, and like I said, I'm predicting to win the Super Bowl in the Ravens. I think that was bigger than any win that they've had this year. That loss against Baltimore showed them that they're a good football team, that they can bang with anybody, and they'll get a chance to prove that Sunday against the Bears.
Certainly. 5-2 through 7 weeks. All it takes from here on out is 500 ball to get this team to 10 wins this year. 5-5 through your next 10. And that 10 includes Chicago, New York, Philly twice, Dallas twice, the Titans, the Falcons, and the Saints, and the Titans.
Games too, by the way.
And the Steelers. And those are every game on the schedule looks winnable. It would take a Washington collapse of years past for them to not get to 10 wins at this point. It feels like the most confident play you can make. But thank you, per usual, for coming to chop it up with me on Tuesday. We got a big week in DC, and I know they're going to have you working on Jayden Watch all week out there in Ashburn. Let folks know where they can find you on your way out.
I appreciate it as always, fam. For fans out there, you can follow me on social media at Lake Lewis Jr. That's on, Twitter, IG, X, whatever you want to call it. It's on there. And then for the old heads, of course, Lake Lewis Jr. on Facebook. Yeah, we still get on there too, Rio. I know you're a lot younger. You can go to and then, of course, please subscribe to and follow my podcast, the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. You can subscribe to it on YouTube. Appreciate your help too, Rio, because I'm getting a lot of love on YouTube, man. I think a lot of your fan base is starting to check it out, so I appreciate that. And then, of course, you can subscribe to it if you want to listen to it in audio. If you're in your car or whatever, you can go to Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's on there. So, yeah, appreciate all the love, man, and all of the well wishes and a lot of the compliments for you and I linking up to do this on Tuesdays.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it each week. I can get used to these Victory Tuesdays, but 5-2. We're looking for our first 6-2 start since the Jim Zorn 2008 season, but we're coming with much better weaponry. That's all I got for right now. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. Rio and Lake signing out.